let's do a stop practice. Stop whatever you are doing right now. Take a few breaths. Observe your experience in this moment. Then proceed mindfully into your next moments.
So welcome to the sacred space. Kumusta ka naman, Krizel?
I'm actually doing pretty well. How about you?
Okay din. I guess I was able to rest this past 2 days. Kasi the past week has been so busy. Parang biglang lahat ng mga kailangan gawin happened in a week.
Right, and rest is very important actually. Yeah, so
Totally.
let's all introduce ourselves first. I'm Krizel. They call me Krizzy or sometimes just Krizel. I basically started out as a volunteer way back when I was still in teens, and I started this whole project where we tried to bring arts to the streets. So I co-founded an organization, an artistic organization at that young age, and the goal is really to bring education, and art was the tool. Now I have been able to round that experience off with some of the educators that I have encountered. And sa dami ng mga na-meet at mga projects na nagawa, I can say that somehow I have touched into the development work. Parang ganun. So nasa developmental work. And right now I'm in a corporate foundation. I feel very lucky because I'm still able to push for my advocacy, which is really in education. But right now, I'm focused on the alternative learning naman. Sila yung hindi masyadong nabibigyan ng pansin. So, yeah. So basically, that's who I am. And all you need to hear from me. Joke lang. How about you, Nex? Very interesting si Nex. Tell them why.
Sige. I love it. Thanks, Krizel. So, if there's one thing that I can say about myself, is that I'm into theater ever since I was in high school, theater and performance. But then, pagdating ng college, kasi nga, uso yung the starving artist. So, parang hindi siya madaling i-pursue as a career. So, I felt I had to get into other things muna. So, eventually, I got into courses that led me to development. So, dyan tayo pareho. At sa marami pang bagay. But then, dun sa development work, I also eventually found myself in professional theater. Pero in my years in theater, I felt there was something missing. And in fact, around that time, parang yun yung nangyari na I was suddenly searching for my purpose. And that was around 2010 to 2011. And by 2011, doon nangyari yung Conscious Heart Creations, which is where we're actually collaborating for this podcast. Parang it was an answer that came when I asked myself, what do you really want? And it's really about healing and empowerment for myself and for other people. Parang sharing lang what I felt worked for me, and then I could share that with other people. So that's what we're kind of here for, the sacred space. Being able to create a sacred space anywhere. And when we talk about sacred space, it doesn't necessarily mean religious or something that you cannot attain to. We're actually saying sacred space in everyday experiences.
Right. And I think the common ground here for both of us and for all this podcast is that we're coming from an artistic background. You in theater and me in visual arts. So we can agree when we say that art is a tool that one communicates, two heals, and three, it's something yet to be discovered by many people. And so we're sharing that to you. through this podcast.
And I'd like to add, it also empowers. I think that's
Right.
one thing that we've discovered for ourselves, na parang when we do creative activities with arts, we empower ourselves and also the young people or the people we've actually worked with. Kasi they suddenly see their own creative potentials.
And that begs the question: why did we even started out the Sacred Space podcast? You've mentioned earlier the sacred is not only the term sacred is not only tied into the religious siguro aspect of it. So first we can introduce to them why, or we can share with them why did we even started out this podcast? How did we get into this anyway?
Well, kailangan natin siyang banggitin kahit na hindi natin siya nakikita dito. Someone behind the scenes. Well, I've actually been thinking about this kasi I've been thinking about how to maximize yung social media. And it's been on my mind for quite some time. And then parang I also have some podcasts that I listen to or watch. And then, but parang for me, hindi ko pa siya ma-imagine talaga how I'm gonna do it. And I just told myself, oh, let's wait. What's gonna happen? And then suddenly, Frances, our good friend and our director, actually just sent a message one day, and parang she was saying she was listening to a podcast, and it was supposed to be around a space for people to feel safe, no? But then she felt hindi masyadong ganun yung naging experience ng mga tao. It was mostly for the hosts.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave this idea, maybe it's a good idea to do what you're doing in a podcast platform. Na like she experienced, we all experienced ating emergent theater cafe, no? And which we will talk about later on. So when she said that, parang for me, it was kind of a sign. And I said, baka ito na nga yun. So I explored the idea with her. And then I got a message that you were so interested to be part of it. So parang everything just came together. And here we are.
No, mine is a very touching story actually. Wait for it.
Okay.
So our common friend, itago na lang din natin sa pangalang Frances, asked me and said, alam mo, yung mga podcast, yun nga, hindi sila nag-offer, wala pa siyang nakikita na yung tone is inviting the viewers or the listeners rather to connect with the podcast hosts na they will not feel judged. Parang it's really a safe platform for them to express themselves. And so I said, and then she said, would Nex be interested? So sabi ko, alam mo, and this is the keywords that got into this, that made us do this podcast. Ewan ko, itanong ko. Yun. So she texted Nex and said, yeah, so they're gonna do it. And I told Frances na, hey, I really want to be in this podcast. I've guested in one of the podcasts that she was also organizing, and that's for a youth group naman at the temple, where I also volunteer. And I really had fun. It's now that the given na yung mode natin to communicate now is through this platform, I think we should all take this opportunity to be able to share what we can offer to a lot of people.
To get updated in our latest episodes, you may follow The Sacred Space by Conscious Heart Creations in Spotify, Google Podcast, and other podcast channels.
Follow Conscious Heart Creations in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We also invite you to be part of our Healing and Empowerment Community Facebook group and send us an email if you want to join our Emergent Theater PH activities.
You can find all the links to our social media accounts and email address on the description box.
Yon, so back to your question of why this is a sacred space. So beyond the religious perspective of the term sacred, it's really, if we want to translate the word sacred in everyday experience, it's actually saying that it's safe, it's nurturing, it's where you feel you are just yourself, And that's the kind of space that we kind of want to offer ourselves and everyone else. Na parang we just talk about things that matter to us. And not just to us, but we feel maybe other people have the same perspective or have been looking for something like that. And then we offer that space in the community where we can just talk about these things and maybe even address some of the things that are quite difficult to talk about. But because it's a safe, nurturing space, we can talk about it without going into the negative space or headspace, and just really be clear about what we want to create in this world, which is for us, and which is why we collaborate. It's to heal and empower each other.
But really, you cannot still get away from that connotation. How can you say when you're in a sacred space? Ano yung parang, are there signs to say, okay, I'm in a sacred space, I'm in my sacred space? How do we identify that from the normal things or the normal space that we are in on a daily basis versus that sacred space?
That's actually a good question. For me, it's being able to feel like I don't have to pretend I'm someone else. And then at the same time, there's always a sense of reverence. Yung reverence kasi pag inisip mo siya sa everyday, parang, religious ulit. Hindi eh. It's that kind of, you wake up in the morning and you say, so what's here today? And you're looking forward, and you're looking forward to who you're gonna be talking to, or even just what's your space. And your space is in that sense of lightness, or kahit na may heavy feeling, alam mo, you can make it, or you can do something about it. Parang ganon. So pag sinabi natin sacred in everyday, even just drinking coffee is an amazing, activity. Yung parang hindi siya yung, ay wait, kumain na ba ako? Nagkape na ba ako? Yung ganon. Or, oh my God, may kakausapin ako, nagpapanik na ako, and all that. Hindi eh. Parang in your moments, you take a pause and say, oh, wow, what's here today? Can I just be present in my day? And then it becomes sacred. Kasi you take the moment as something that you want to really be in, and you really want to reap the benefits of the moment. Parang ganun.
Okay, that's interesting because you mentioned na kahit nagkakape lang, and then you're like asking yourself. So, can I say that I am in a sacred space in between my routines, for example? And this is very layman. A lot of girls can relate to this. When I say, like, when I do my skincare routine, okay, as simple as that, no? I feel like this is my area, this is my moment na I can be myself. I can be whoever I want to be while I'm putting on my regimen. But it's not really the products that you put in, it's the process of how you put it in. Can you say that there's somewhere sacred space in between your routines? Can you?
I think you choose it eh. At some point when you become aware of it, na, oh wow, I'm enjoying this particular moment. Diba? And then you forget all about the trivialities of the products or yung parang ganon, na parang, and then the time becomes longer. Yung pag inisip mo, siguro mga 20 minutes ka lang naman nag-ayos ng mukha mo, or well, pwedeng 1 hour, pero parang feeling mo the whole time you were enjoying it. So yes, you can definitely insert things in your day on a personal level, on an individual level. Pero pwede rin nga kasi siya na, you commit to an interaction where you say, as much as I can, I'll be there. When I say I'll be there, it's not like may kausap ka pero lahat ng thoughts mo all over the place. Yung parang gusto mo nang umalis kasi marami kang gagawin. O, di ba? Parang, and we're almost on a daily basis ganun eh. But when you say, wait, I'm just gonna be here. I want this moment to be something where I totally experience it as much as I can. Parang ganon. And then the sacred shows up.
Okay. Yeah. Again, you mentioned that you're aware of, you're doing that, you're present, no? And it's something that's matagal, medyo nawala ngayon sa society, especially if, well, me working in a corporate world, talagang we're parang focus on targets after targets, achieving each task. And that means walang time to like be with friends or parang chat very lightly with office mates because of the physical distancing also, we needed to be in a skeletal workforce. So it's not like this, it's not like before na merong space in between works where we can enjoy and have a chit chat, and it really help us out in terms of taking the work lightly but achieving our tasks. So tinatawag na sacred space is something that very essential, and it's something that we need to pay attention to, pero not in a parang cerebral way na parang I need to have the sacred space. It's more okay kapag ka mas natural. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, exactly. Parang, actually, may binanggit ka kanina na parang I'd like to look more into. Like, yung normal kasi, I feel, mas wala tayong opportunity before. Sa sobrang busy niya, sa sobrang wala kang time. In fact, yung feeling ko nga tong pandemic, pinilit niya tayong makita yung sacred. Kasi parang wala ka naman ibang pupuntahan kundi yung four walls mo or something, di ba? Parang, or you talk to the same people. And I've heard a lot of people saying na suddenly their relationships have changed, or, they saw something else because wala na nga ibang pupuntahan. And I'm not talking about everyone else. I'm sure there are a lot of challenges with other people. But some people have actually felt na why don't we shift things in terms of relating, in terms of what is before us. So, dun sa tanong mo ng making it a natural thing. In mindfulness, which is what another thing that I do, is really, and I think you've also experienced that, we talk about the doing mode and the being. And when we can actually just be, I think that's the time when we can invite the sacred in. We can just be in relationship, we can just be with ourselves. And dati parang the productive systems would label that or judge that as lazy, or it's not useful, or why are you just being yourself, procrastinating, and you don't even want to be yourself, you want to be someone else. Kasi someone else is, richer, more intelligent than you, more beautiful than you, etc., etc. So the sacred is basically just being you and realizing that the moment that you are yourself, or you just be, is a beautiful moment. It's sacred.
It's very nice to hear, actually, Yeah, I just wanted to go back to that part na when you said before was normal. Yung part na doing and being. So doing, in this case, is like the transactional type of communication with a lot of people. Na parang, hi, hello, I need this. Okay, I got it. Done. Versus yung being or being present for yourself and for others. Now, it's actually ganun na nga din naman ang nangyayari. And we're putting a lot more importance now on that kind of headspace na parang mas, even in corporate companies, they put value now on quote-unquote mental health of the employees. Kasi nga naman productivity is also based on that, their well-being.
Yes.
Yeah. Yun na.
So that's sacred space for us. And here, what we're going to do, in at least for the season and the hopefully more seasons, is to start talking about things that we have not probably been looking at, or I think it's not so much as people don't talk about these things, but it's always approached a certain way. And for me, that certain way is this judgmental way, or is this useful or not useful? Parang yun lang siya, diba?
And there's the lack of, yung mga topics na yun, that there's a lack of candor, there's a lack of authenticity when we talk about it, because ang daming filters, but there's a way to talk about it, and so that's something that we want to bring it also in the sacred space. So watch out, because we will be inviting a lot of our viewers and listeners on this podcast. So I hope you stay tuned for more episodes.
Yes, and we hope that you find this sacred space something that you can be empowered to just be yourself. See you next time.
See ya.